Devaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrutyam
Narayanam Namaskrutyam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye
Tato Jayamudiraye
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttamasloke
Bhagavate Uttamasloke
Bhaktin Bhavatir Naistiki
Bhaktim Bhavati Naistiki
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Nandagopa Kumaraya
Nandagopa Kumaraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna. Welcome all the devotees for the morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. Today we are going to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, text number 1. We are starting the 6th chapter today. The canto name is The Cosmic Manifestation, and the chapter name is Purusha Supta Confirmed. So the Purusha Supta means the cosmic form of the Lord, the universal form of the Lord. So it is again the continuation of Brahma and Narada discussion is continuing in this chapter. Let us start the sloga. Please repeat behind me. Brahmovāca.
Brahmovāca.
Vācāṁ vahner mukham kṣetraṁ.
Vācām vahner mukham kṣetraṁ.
Chandasāṁ sapta dhātavaḥ.
Chandasāṁ sapta dhātavaḥ.
Havya-kavyāmṛtānnānāṁ.
Havya-kavyāmṛtānnānāṁ.
jihvā sarva-rasasya.
Jihvā sarva-rasasya.
Word by word meaning. Please repeat behind me. Brahmovāca.
Brahmovāca.
Lord Brahma said.
Lord Brahma said.
Vācāṁ.
Vācām.
Of the voice.
Of the voice.
Vahneḥ.
Vahneḥ.
Of fire.
Of fire.
Mukham.
Mukham.
The mouth.
The mouth.
kṣetraṁ.
Kṣetraṁ.
The generating center.
The generating center.
chandasāṁ.
Chandasāṁ.
Of the Vedic hymns such as Gāyatrī.
Of the Vedic hymns such as Gāyatrī.
Sapta. 7. dhātavaḥ. Skin and 6 other layers. havya-kavya.
Havya-kavya.
Offering for the demigods and the forefathers.
Offerings for the demigods and the forefathers.
amṛta. Food for human beings. annānām. Of all sort of foodstuffs.
All sorts of foodstuffs.
jihvā. The tongue. sarva. All. rasasya. Of all delicious. cha. Also. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanavanda A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Translation, please repeat behind me. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the virāṭ-puruṣa,
the mouth of the virāṭ-puruṣa,
the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice. And the controlling deity is fire. His skin and 6 other layers are the generating center of the
generating center of
Vedic hymns.
Vedic hymns.
And his tongue is the
His tongue is the
productive center of
productive center of
different foodstuffs
different foodstuffs
and delicious for offering,
delicacies
for offering the demigods, the forefathers,
forefathers,
and the general mass of people.
and the general mass of people.
Purport. The opulence of the universal form of the Lord are described herein. It is said that his mouth is the generating center of all kinds of voices, and its controlling deity is the fire demigod. And his skin and the other layers of bodily construction are the representative generative center of the 7 kinds of Vedic hymns, like the Gāyatrī. Gāyatrī is the beginning of all Vedic mantras, and it is explained in the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam. Since the generating center are the different parts of the universal form of the Lord, and since the form of the Lord is transcendental to the material creation, it is to be understood that the voice, the tongue, the skin, etc. suggests that the Lord in his transcendental form is not without them. The material voice or the energy of taking of in foodstuff is generated originally from the Lord. Such actions are but perverted reflection of the original reservoirs. The transcendental situation is not without spiritual variegatedness. In the spiritual world, all the perverted forms of material variegatedness are fully represented in their original spiritual identity. The only difference is that material activities are contaminated by the 3 modes of material nature, whereas the potencies in the spiritual world are all pure, because they are engaged in the unalloyed transcendental loving service of the Lord. In the spiritual world, the Lord is the sublime enjoyer of everything, and the living entities there are all engaged in his transcendental loving service without any contamination of the modes of material nature. The activities in the spiritual world are without any of the difficulties of the material world. But there is no question of impersonal wideness on the spiritual platform, as suggested by the impersonalists. Devotional service is defined in the Narada Pancharatra as follows. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat parvatvena nirmalam rishikesha rishikena sevanam bhaktir uchyate. Originally, since all the senses are produced to the Lord's reservoir of senses, the sensual activities of the material world are to be purified by the process of devotional service. And thus, the perfection of life can be attained simply by purifying the present position of our material activities. And the purifying process begins from the stage of being liberated from the conception of different designations. Every living entity is engaged in some sort of service, either for the self or for the family or for the society or country, etc. But unfortunately, all such services are rendered due to material attachment. The attachments of the material affinity may be simply changed to the service of the Lord, and thus the treatment of being freed from material attachment begins automatically. The process of liberation is therefore easier through devotional service than by any other method. For in the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is said that one is subjected to various kinds of tribulations if one is impersonally attached. Klesha adhikatara tesam havya-kavya cṣetraṁ. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilidam-yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashasha Desha Tarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So the communication, the conversation between the Brahma and the Narada is continuing. So in this today's sloka, Brahma is explaining about the Lord's voice is coming out from the voice, the Lord's voice. It is coming out from his mouth, and the fire god is the controlling deity for because each and every part of the body is controlled by the demigods, is taken care by demigods. So the universal form again is continuing, is explaining the universal form of the Lord again. And is talking about the Vedic hymns. So his body, from the Vedic hymns are emanating from his skin and other layers of the body. And so the tongue of the Lord, it is representing the different foodstuffs. So that foodstuffs are offering to the demigods, forefathers, and general mass of people. So whatever we are eating, whatever we are having, we are honoring that prasadam. That is the foodstuff. It is coming out from where? The tongue of the Lord. That's the productive center. So this is the way the virāṭ-puruṣa has got that universal form of the Lord is explained today. So today, sloka, Brahmā is explaining about the tongue, the voice, and the skin of the Lord. So, if you see the Prabhupada, he was explaining about the impersonalist again here. So in the material world, why we are engaged in the devotional service, that also explained here. So there is no duality and there is no other activity in the spiritual world. So the only aim in the spiritual world is to serve the Supreme Lord. The living entities who are there already and who are reaching there, their only activity is based on their subhava and based on their connectivity with the Lord, they will serve directly or indirectly to the Supreme Lord. So some of the devotees who wanted to serve the Lord directly, and they will have the different rasas, the Vatsalya rasa and Sakya rasa, or the sevak, who is servant of the Lord. So there are multiple rasas are there. So the Madhurya rasa, there are 5 rasas. So any of the rasas who are connected with the Lord, so they will serve the Lord in that way. And Santa rasa, there are multiple rasas are there. Some devotees, their aim is to serve not directly the Supreme Lord, some serve the associates, the close associates of the Supreme Lord. So mainly for the Radharani. So Srimati Radharani and her associates, there are Astasagis are there. So Astasagis, they are all helping Radharani to serve the Supreme Lord. So the similar way, so the mood of the devotee, pure devotees, they wanted to serve, they want to give the service to the Supreme Lord through the Astasagis. They will take part in the service of whatever the Astasagis are doing, or whatever the Radharani is doing, they want to take part in that. Then they will serve that. Through them, they will serve the Lord. So this is the way the entire spiritual world is only the service to the Supreme Lord. But the spiritual world, the material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. This is just a opposite way of the reflection here. But if you come into the material world, it is entirely different. Here, all are wanted to enjoy like the Lord, how the Lord is enjoying in the supreme and the spiritual world. Similarly, each and every living entity wanted to enjoy in this material world, because the 3 modes of nature contaminated by the 3 modes of material nature. That 3 modes of material nature contamination is not there in the spiritual world. That is the reason the living entities, they know their original position and they are serving the Supreme Lord. Since that forgetfulness Lord provided to us, because the living entities envy on the Lord, how the Lord is enjoying, I am also want to enjoy in that way. When that propensity came into the living being, that living beings are put into the material world, which is the similar perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Here also the enjoyments are there, but with the material things, and they are limited here. The enjoyment is limited here, but in the spiritual world, the enjoyment is unlimited there. So because of this 3 modes of material nature, the living entities are getting into the problems because their propensity is to enjoy the things without the Lord and for the sense gratification, their own sense gratification. All the living entities, they want to, suppose they want first, they wanted to enjoy themselves, and later they will think about my family, then my society, my community, my country. Like that, it will increase the enjoying propensity. So one of the lecture Prabhupada told, initially the person, he will think that, okay, if I need to get the fame. So if you see practically we can see the cine stars or sports person who are initially they're not in that much famous, and they started their career and they coming to the peak of their career. They wanted to get the name and fame and wealth. So they will work for first. They will work for the name and fame. So once the name and fame comes, then they will start to accumulate the money. So that once accumulation of money, then they will start with they will think that they want to serve the society. But beyond that, they cannot think. I want to serve the Supreme Lord. That is the topmost. But the person who are getting into this mode, first sense enjoyment, then name fame, getting the name fame, then getting accumulation of money. Once the accumulate of money, they get some saturation, then they will get into that, okay, whatever I earned, I want to give the social service I need to do. So till that, they will come. So all the who are all there around us in this material world, the rich person, rich people, who are all the famous sports star or cine stars, if you see, they will get into that mode only. You can take Tata, or you can take Microsoft owner, and you can take our cine stars now currently in Tamil Nadu. Recently, this one of the cine star, he told that I'm going to stop my career. Now I'm going to getting into the politics. So I want to serve the mass of people. So that is the level. So they are thinking that they're serving the people, then that will give the satisfaction. That is the topmost thing. And beyond that, serving the Supreme Lord is the topmost, but they never get that level because they were only within that level of serving the people only. So this is the way the material world is arranged. But the intelligent person who will come to know that, okay, there is a Supreme Lord, and serving the Supreme Lord is the topmost, and I need to work for that. So I need to practice that. That is my swadharma. So the swadharma means our own nature, own work. So own nature, own work is to serve the Supreme Lord. When a intelligent person knows about his swadharma through the acharyas or through the scriptures, then he will start the spiritual activities in the material world also. So when the spiritual activity started in the material world, their thinking about about their sense gratification is getting reduced. So in that way, they will practice the spiritual activities in the material world, where they convert their own sense gratification into their own senses into the service of the Lord. So this is the way that the training is happening in this material world. So once they up, then we can consider them as the qualified person to serve the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world. So the devotees, whether they were there in the spiritual world or whether they were in the material world, both the places, their own swadharma is to serve the Supreme Lord. That is their original position. And the impersonalists who are telling about who are considering Lord has no form, Lord is there everywhere. So those impersonalists, they will consider that Lord is everywhere. So they will there in the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, as specified by Srila Prabhupada in this purport, their impersonalist, their way of attaining the Supreme Lord, it is very, very difficult way. Even though the personalist and the impersonalist, their goal, they are trying to achieve the same goal, but the smart way, the intelligent way is catch hold of the devotional service, which is very easy and smooth path to attain the Supreme Lord. And the impersonalist way, it is very, very troublesome, and very, very rarely some people will reach the destination. And also they will criticize about the Archa Vigraha Aradhana by the personalist. So the personalist, what we'll do? we will consider the deity which is there in the temple, which deity which is there in our houses. There is a representation of the Supreme Lord, and we will do whatever the service we wanted to do. This we are feeling to do the Supreme Lord. We will do the service to the Lord who is in the form of Archa Vigraha. So that is that the impersonalists, they will think that that is all bogus, because they are thinking that God is impersonal. So we gave our form to the Lord and we are worshipping them. But since from time immemorial, the living entity came into this material world, because our identifying a person in the form, any person or any animal or any living entity, we are our first identity, we are identifying the other living entity is in the form. So it is easy for the living entity to worship the form and to attain the perfection. And that's the reason Lord is mercifully came into the form of Arja Vigraha. So Arja Vigraha, it is not just making in the stone or wood and worshipping. It is not like that. The making in the form of after making it, the reciting the Vedic hymns and invoking the Lord into the Arja Vigraha, then we are worshipping. So there is no difference between worshipping the Arja Vigraha and the worshipping the Supreme Lord. So both are one another same, because we invoke the Lord in the Arja Vigraha. Lord also accepted, and it is coming into the form of Arja Vigraha. So that is specified in the Vedic literature that Lord himself tells that I can come into the form of Archa Vigraha, and you can worship them, you can practice the devotional activities in the material world, and you can come into the spiritual world and you can serve directly to me. That is the way Lord also confirmed in the Vedic literatures. And Prabhupada used to give an analogy for this, one crude example, which is called a crude example. Like we have the earlier, the Prabhupada time and all, we used to have the post boxes. There is a red color box. It will be there. The post office. There is the authorized place where the exchanges, whatever the communication, the literal form, we will write in the letter, and we will specify the address, and we will go and post in the post office. There is a box, red color box will be there, and we will put that letter into the box. And that kind of boxes will be there here and there in the multiple places in a city or in a town or village. In multiple places, the box will be there. So the person who wanted to, it is not necessary. You need to directly go and go to the post office. Then you need to send the letter. So if you put the letter in the authorized place, which is the box, then automatically whatever the result you will get. If you give the post the same similar letter or similar envelope to the post office, the postmaster, if you give, he will also process that and he will send to the destination. The similar way, the same the envelope, if you post in the box which is authorized, and wherever it is there, if you post there also, that also will reach the similar destination. So this is so we cannot say that only the post office is there only the place. The post boxes and all, it is not authorized. We cannot say, because the post boxes are authorized by the government, so you can post there also. The similar way now, the current trend, if you see the current way, the current time, the modern time, we can consider the ATMs. So it is not necessary you need to go to the bank, then only you can take out or deposit your money. Wherever the ATMs are there, those are the authorized places by the bank. There conveniently you can, it is not necessary the only place, wherever you have the account, there only you need to go and deposit and you can withdraw money. It is not like that. Wherever the bank authorized ATMs are there you can go and deposit and withdraw the money. So the similar thing, whatever the effect which is there in a bank, the same effect we will get it from the ATM also, which is and faster also. So this is the way the Archa Vigraha's worship is explained. So that means the Archa Vigraha, it is not unauthorized. It is authorized by the Supreme Lord also. So the Archa Vigraha, whatever the services we are doing, the Archa Vigraha, Lord is mercifully accepting that services and he is giving his blessings. And we are advancing the spiritual, we can advance in the spiritual life also. That's what the Krishna also telling in 12 point, Bhagavad Gita 12.5, what he is saying that Klesho atikataraste avyakta sakta setasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavidbir avakyate. So Krishna is saying that for those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. So Krishna clearly telling in this sloka that for the impersonalist, the advancement of in the spiritual activity, spiritual life is very, very troublesome. So it is very, very difficult for them to achieve the Supreme Lord. So this is the clearly he is explaining here. And in Narada Pancharatra, here also it is saying that about the bhakti. What is that? What is the divorce? What is the pure bhakti? Underlying devotional service means what is that? Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat parvatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchati. What is the pure bhakti? What is pure bhakti? Rishikena rishikesha sevanam. That is the topmost in the bhakti. Rishikesha. Who is Rishikesha? Is the Supreme Lord. Who is the master of all the senses? Who is Supreme Lord? Who is the master of all senses? So seva Rishikesha Rishikena. So to serve the senses of the Supreme Lord, that is the topmost in the bhakti. So it's the senses. So if there is a person, then only the senses will be there. Right? If you consider the person, if there is impersonal, we cannot understand what is the weather, where is his legs, where is his hands, where is his mouth. We cannot understand if it is impersonal. There is impersonal means there is no form. People will think that there is Lord is no impersonal, there is no form for the Lord. So here in this sloka, it is mentioned that Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. So who is the master of all the senses? So the senses, who is the master of all senses? Supreme Lord is the master of senses. So Supreme Lord has the tongue, Supreme Lord has the nose, Supreme Lord has the ears, Supreme Lord has the eyes. So if all these parts of the bodies are there, that means he is the person. He is a personal. So that personal, so that parts of the bodies are there. So by doing the kirtan, we can glorify the Supreme Lord and we can glorify the pure devotees. By that, Lord will be satisfied by hearing that. And by seeing us the devotee and who is following the rules and regulation and doing the pranam in front of the deity, the Archa Vigraha, Lord will be, by seeing that, Lord will be satisfied. And we are giving the garlands to the Supreme Lord, which is, the fragrant smell, the flowers, we are offering to the Supreme Lord. By hearing that, but with that smell, Lord will be satisfied. We are offering the foodstuffs, whatever we prepared, first we are offering to the Supreme Lord. By taking that, Lord will be satisfied. So this is the way we are satisfying the senses of the Supreme Lord. First, we are thinking that how we can satisfy the Supreme Lord senses. Then the remnants we are taking and we are enjoying ourselves. So our enjoyment is there more in serving the Supreme Lord. So in order to understand, because Lord is thinking that the devotees are enjoying more than the Lord. So the Lord wanted to feel that. So that is the way Lord wanted to how the feeling of the devotee. So that is the reason he mercifully came as a devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to get the feeling of the devotee. That's why he came into this material world. Then he enjoyed. So in this today's sloka, we discussed the two things, which is personalist and impersonalist. Impersonalist is the very difficult path. Personalist in the sense, we are the personalist who are worshipping the Lord in the form of Archa Vigraha and in the material world, and to serve there to the Archa Vigraha here, and to continue the service in the spiritual world to the Supreme Lord directly or indirectly through the associates. So that is our Swadharma. So the practice is there in this material world. So the Lord here, in today's sloka, it is Brahmaji is explaining about the Lord's voice, Lord's mouth, and Lord's tongue, and how it is the Lord's skin. So these are all the personal feature of the Lord. So that means the Lord is the personal, and we need to, if you follow that, what acharyas are saying, then the spiritual path is easy to attain the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.